Now, if you've got some spare time this weekend and you want to improve your house, here are 5 quick and easy DIY jobs that anyone can do. Now, this first job doesn't even involve a power tool. We're going to be taking off an old silver door handle and replacing it with something that looks a bit more modern. First thing we're going to do is twist off the rows here, and this is going to reveal all the screws that we've got to undo. And I'm just going to take these off using a screwdriver. With those screws undone, the handles should come out, and you just want to make sure you got the spindle out, which goes through both handles in the middle as well. And once we pulled out the handles and the spindle going through the door, we can go through now and also pull out the latch. Alright, so with that out, we can now start putting in the new door handle. I'm putting the latch in first, and we want to make sure it's facing the right way, and that you got this rounded side facing the way the door is going to shut, so that when it hits a striker plate, the latch will actually push in and latch into place. In my case, I'm using a door handle that is very similar to the one I had in there. So luckily, my latch does fit perfectly in the checkout in the side of the door. In case yours doesn't fit in there though, I will be showing you soon how you can check out more of the door to make it fit. Alternatively though, if it is a bit too small, you can use some putty to fill in those gaps. Now I've got the first door handle here, and you can see I'm just pushing down on the handle, making sure I've got it the right way. The handles are only going to push in one direction, and you want to make sure that you've got them so you can push down to get into the doorway. So to hold the door handles together, we've got these 2 screws that go into a sleeve, and this is going to go through that latch in the middle, and we're going to screw into the door handles on either side, pulling them in together. We've actually got one screw that doesn't have a Phillips head, so you can't tighten it afterwards, so I'm going to hold it in place right now, and we're actually going to get the sleeve and twist the sleeve onto that screw, making it tight before we put the door handle in. We've got one for the top and the bottom, so we're going to go ahead and put both of those in. And before we install the door handles, I'm going to put the spindle through the middle. For the handle I'm doing, we've actually got a privacy lock on one side, so I'm going to make sure the spindle's facing the right way. I'm just pushing down on that button to get it right in there, and it's going to click into place right in the middle. We can then get the handle we got earlier, make sure we line those sleeves up with the pre-drilled holes that were there for the other handle, and make sure we push it in with that spindle going into the middle of the handle, and we can test it out and make sure it works. Then we can grab the other door handle, and I'm going to chuck in those 2 long screws that go into that sleeve. I'm just going to spend a bit of time at making sure everything lines up, making sure I get those screws studded in the sleeve and making sure they all hit, and then we're going to push that door into the spindle and properly tighten that the whole way. We've also got a few more holes in the handle, and we can actually go through with another screw now and screw the handle into the actual door. And what the screw is going to do is stop that handle rotating over time. Right now I've put it in so the handles are level, it does look great, but over time if you're walking through the doorway and keep opening it and pushing down on the handle, you can have it rotating slightly. The reason I didn't go through and do that screw though, is that there was a big hole behind it, there was nothing to screw into, and I wasn't too worried about it. If the handle does go out of level, we can just loosen these holes, re-straighten it up, but I've done this before when I couldn't get through and get that screw in, and I haven't had an issue with it. With that screwed off, we can put the cover plates back on. These ones just get pushed into place. Some of them you got to twist into place. You just got to work out what you got. And I've got a little locking pin here, which has a thread at the end. And once we line up those holes in the handle, we'll actually slide that pin in there. You need to play around with it a little bit to make sure you line it up with the thread that it needs to go into. But then you can twist that into place. And there you have it, that handle's installed with the lock. The door handle also comes with a new striker plate though, which will definitely be changing over. This one is pretty straightforward, until you get to the problem that I've got where you actually need to cut out more of the door jamb to get the striking plate to fit. What you need to do is hold the striking plate in place where it needs to go, and with a sharp pencil I'm going to do an outline of the striker plate, working out where I've got to cut out the door jamb, and we're going to use a knife to cut down with the timber, and then the chisel to go in across the grain. That's what you always want to do when you're doing any little checkout like this. And once you've gone through and marked the top, bottom and the sides, you'll get your chisel and you can just slowly take off the timber. You can just always do a little bit at a time and keep checking it with that striker plate until you get the perfect depth. And when that's done, your striker plate should perfectly sit in through there. This next DIY job we're doing is a little bit more complex than just changing a door handle over. You're going to need a few tools to do it, but it's going to make such a big difference in your house. And what we're doing is taking off the old bulky architraves and replacing them with some new ones. To take the old architraves off, the very first thing we need to do is get a Stanley knife, and we're just cutting the paint line where the paint's connected between the architrave and the door jamb, and then also on the other side of the architrave, we're cutting it where the plaster meets the architrave. If you just went in with a chisel now and tried to pull the architrave off, the paint's probably going to be connected to the door jamb and also the wall, and it's just going to peel off the rest of the paint. Sometimes it can even take off a bit of the paper in the plaster, and it will just make a mess. So whenever you're taking off an architrave, I always recommend starting by doing this. With that done, we can now grab a hammer and chisel, and we're going to be carefully getting in behind the architrave and very slightly prying it open. You don't want to go too harsh on this because you can damage the door jamb, and you want to be careful if you're coming in from the other side and make sure you're not pushing off the plaster and damaging the wall. Now what I find to be the best way to get this done is just to make a slight gap between the architrave and the door jamb and just keep working your way down with the chisel, slowly taking it off the wall, and once most of it's been pulled out a little bit, you should just be able to pull the whole thing off. With the arcs off, we're just going to go through, make sure to remove any staples or nails left in the door jamb, and then I'm also going to get a paint scraper and smooth off the surface. If they've caulked the architrave, you'll have a little caulk line, but if not, you might have a few flaky bits of paint that you just want to smooth off before putting the new architrave on. And while we're doing the architraves, another DIY job we can do at the same time is take off and replace the skirting boards. I'd actually recommend doing both of these at the same time, because if you're doing a different thickness of your architrave, it's going to influence your skirting board. So you want to make them match up with each other, and for the skirting board, we're going to do the same thing. Get the knife out, cut that paint seal from the wall to the skirting board, and you don't have a lot to push off of the skirting board. You don't want to push off the plaster, so I normally start from that external side and just keep making my way down until the whole thing comes off. For the installation, we always want to start with the architraves because they're going to go down to the floor and then the skirting board will button to them. What I'm doing right here is actually marking the quirk, which is the inside corner of the architrave. Where I work in Victoria, most people do it at 3mm. I know other people have it at 5mm. But what I've done is set my combo square to 3mm, and then I'm going to butt it up against both sides of the jamb, and I can get that 3mm quirk measurement in the corner. It's going to have a corresponding point, and that's going to be where the corners of my architraves go. Then to get the measurements for the architrave, I can measure down on either side, measure it to that point, and I normally just take off 1 or 2mm because you are going to caulk the bottom and you don't want it to be too long. I just make it a bit easier for myself. For the actual header though, the top architrave, I'm not going to measure point to point, but what I do instead is measure the internal side of the door jamb, and then we've got that 3mm on either side which we're going to add to it. So it's that internal measurement plus 6mm, but I've always just added an additional mil, making it plus 7mm, just to make those miters super tight. When it comes to cutting the architraves, I definitely recommend using a miter saw, and you don't need to spend $1,000 buying one. I know Bunnings has an Azito miter saw, which I think is only about $100, and it's obviously not the best saw out there, but it's going to get the job done and cut the miters for you. Now for either side, what we're going to be doing is actually flipping the architrave over, marking the back of it, just because it's a bit more accurate to get that bevel point, and those measurements we got are going to be to the short point of the 45 angle we're cutting it at. So I've got the miter saw set at 45, I'm going to line it up with that mark and easily just cut both of the angles for this side architraves. And for the top architrave, we need to do a cut on either side for both the miters. And what I do to make this super easy for myself and make it accurate is I'll come in on the architrave, mark 100mm, and that's going to be where I do the first miter. And then instead of marking whatever measurement I had, I'm going to add 100mm to the measurement, mark that, and now between both of those pencil marks I've got, it's the exact dimension of the architrave that we need, and I can go through, cut both of those pencil lines, and the architrave is going to come out perfectly. Now to install the architraves, if you've got a fixing gun, it's going to make your life super easy. I'm just using one of Hikoki's battery fixing guns right now, but if you don't have one, and you're not doing many jobs like this, don't waste your money. What I'd recommend you doing is just using a drill, pre-drilling your holes, and just using a nail to put the architraves into place. When shooting the architrave off, I'm making sure I'm shooting nails into the door jamb, and then we're also going to go through and shoot them into the plaster, which will go through and go into the stud, which is next to the door jamb. That's going to secure it in place, and we're making sure we put PVA glue on the miters, and then when I'm putting the second architrave on, I'm just going to go through to start with, shoot it into the door jamb so it's secure and held in place, and we'll go through and shoot the miters at the very end. And with the architraves on, we're going to get the sander out and just lightly sand the miters, making sure they're ready to paint. Then we can go through, fill the nail holes with putty. The architraves I've used are pre-primed, so we can just sand the architraves back, get rid of any dirt or grime that's on them. There's a lot of scuff marks on my architraves, so I'm going to sand those back as well, and then it will be ready to paint after all that's done. With those architraves done, we can jump onto the skirting boards. And there's pretty much two different ways we're going to cut the skirting boards. The first way we're doing now is cutting at those external corners for the mortar. And I'm going to get both measurements. We're going to measure to the corner of the wall, which is going to be the short point for the angle. And then what we're going to do is just cut that on a 45. Normally what you'd be doing when you're cutting your skirting boards is having them standing up against the fence. It's more accurate, more of a neater cut this way. I've lost my fence rails though, so unfortunately I've got mine laying down, but it still works out alright anyway. So I've cut the longer length and the smaller length, and then it's pretty straightforward. You're just going to chuck them in place, get some PVA glue on the join, and then just go through, shooting the bottom of the skirting board off into the wall, and then you're going to be tapping to find out where the studs are on the wall as well, and you want to shoot the top of the skirting board off into those studs. Internal corners though are a little bit tricky. What we're going to do to start with is put the first piece in, which just butts into that wall completely square. We're doing nothing special to that one and shooting it off. For the next one, we're going to get the measurement going square to square from the architrave to that first skirting board. We're going to bring it over to the miter saw, and we're actually going to cut that one on a 45 degree. And then what we're going to do is set the saw back to 0 degrees, and we're going to actually cut through that miter up until that paint line. At this point, you normally use a coping saw. I couldn't find mine though, I think it was left on a work site. So I just used a multi-tool, and we'll just go through and trim off the top of the skirting board here. And the whole point of it is that once we install it, this little bit that we left on is going to go over that skirting board that we already installed, and it'll give you a nice tight internal corner. The problem we have now is we've got the new architraves, we've got the new door handle, and now the doors are looking old and outdated, so we're going to take these off and repaint the doors. Now this is my pet hate, when people just go through and they paint over the door hinges. Obviously they've gone through, painted the door jamb, and the hinges all in one. And firstly, I don't think it looks good, but secondly, it is a pain to get these screws out. They are flathead screws as well, which always are a struggle to get out. And I actually had to spend a fair bit of time trying to get these doors off. The other problem with painting the doors now is we've got to take those handles back off. So if you are planning to paint your doors, I do recommend leaving the old handles on, paint your doors, and then once they're painted, you can put your new handles on, and you don't have to worry about taking them off and putting them back on. And whoever painted these doors did a horrible job. I don't think they've gone through and done any prep work at all. And I'm just using a scraper, and you can see how easily that paint is peeling off. This is a problem we've got with a lot of the surfaces in our house. The paint's just peeling off even without us touching it. So I'm going to go through, scrape off as much of the paint as possible, then I'm going to grab a sander and go through and sand the rest of it back. With the doors prepped, I'm actually bringing them inside to do the painting. I won't normally do this, but it's about 10 degrees outside, and I've got the heater on inside just to help the paint dry a little bit quicker and make a nicer finish. So firstly, we are going through, I am priming these doors again, which is going to be the base coat and help our paint stick onto it. So I'm going to do one coat of primer, and then I like using a semi-gloss for my doors, my arcs, my skirts. And that just makes the doors, skirts, and architraves stand out a slight bit more than the walls. And while we're doing everything else with these doors, I'm actually going to change the hinges over as well. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm pretty much redoing everything about them. And I've got the black handle, so I want to do black hinges to make them match. Now this is pretty straightforward. I'm just lighting the hinge up with a jam, and the actual straight part that the hinge butts into is a perfect length for this hinge here. And that's quite important for me because you want to make sure that where you put your hinge on the door jamb is exactly the same on the door. Otherwise, when you hang it, you're just going to have uneven gaps. So it could be worth actually hanging your door before you paint it. Make sure you get everything right. And then what we're going to do is screw the new hinge in, and we're going to have to putty up those gaps above and below it. I know people do this differently. You could actually go through and just putty over the entire existing rebate and just start again fresh. What I like to do though is a bit messy, but I'll leave the hinge in there. I'll go over the top with the putty. I'll let that dry, take the hinge out. I'll sand the putty back a little bit, and then you got your defined lines and where it needs to finish. And I'll go through, do a second coat of putty and get that done. And one last very quick job that I'm going to do is change over this toilet roll holder. We're going to make it black again, which is going to suit the handles and the hinges, but you can see that this thing is just loose in the wall. It's barely sitting in there. I'm going to take it out by using an Allen key and getting to the screw underneath it. And actually taking the toilet roll holder off, we can see the screws in the wall. I mean, there's one that we can take out, but the other one is completely rounded and stripped. So what we've had to do instead is get a drill bit. I'm going to drill through the center of the screw, and that way I can take it off the wall. For the new toilet roll holder, I'm not sure how I feel about this. I went to buy like a proper one that you screw into the wall, and the first one I saw was this one, which you're meant to just put onto the wall. It's got a suction cap, and you got this pump, so you're meant to pump it onto the wall, and it should just stay there indefinitely. And if it works, it's probably the easiest DIY job out there, because all you have to do is remove the old one, and then you really don't need a single tool at all to install the new one. I just couldn't get it to work. I even tried getting putty out and filling those screw holes in the wall, so there was no way that the air could escape or enter in there. And even with that done, I just got nothing. It wasn't working. So this one was one DIY failure. I normally don't trust anything like this that doesn't involve screws or proper hardware. And I think I'm going to be right to trust my instinct again.